And welcome to Flyover Country. I'm going to go over a couple of things before I put up my prediction map. Now, this will be probably watched by most of you, well, if not tomorrow after the election, in the weeks to come, as you guys are looking for prediction videos and find out who figured it out and who didn't, and maybe you stumble on this one. But for those of you that do watch it tomorrow, I want you to keep some things in mind as we move forward. There's a lot of things that I'm going to say first before I get into this that I think is absolutely preposterous. In fact, it's actually aggravating. If I hear one more person say the polls, I'm going to strangle somebody. Okay? Ignore the polls. Ignore them. The polls are done by the liberal propaganda arm, or the propaganda arm of the Liberal Party, aka mainstream media. None of these people have a vested interest in Trump winning. And their plan is simple. They want to repress the Republican vote, make them think there's no reason to go vote, and jack up their base to go vote with enthusiasm. There's one problem. You tried this already in 2016, and it didn't work. Many think it may have had the opposite effect, that you galvanize the Republicans to go vote, because see, conservatives, when the going gets tough, we work harder. Liberals, by and large, when the going gets tough, they quit. So they thought they had it in the bag. Let somebody else deal with it. Kind of like socialism, right? Oh, I don't have to work. Let somebody else work and I'll still get paid. We got it in the bag. I don't need to go vote. I'm too busy smoking my weed. Let somebody else go. Or maybe you're like Hunter Biden and you're snorting crack off the crack of children. I'm sorry, too soon? So, I have a statement that I'm going to make before I get into this. I think there's two types of liberals right now. They're good, American, Kennedy-type liberal. Like my father-in-law, like so many of my friends. They're good people. And they're angry because their party has left them. And maybe they have to vote Republican for the first time in their life, or maybe they have to vote Republican for only the second time in their life. But they're being forced to vote Republican. Then you got the second type of Democrat. The sycophants. I'll say it because no one else is. They're evil. They're evil. They have no problem with murdering children. They have no problem with child sex trafficking. They have no problem with pedophilia. They have no problem with, they can't see the obvious stuff that goes on. Like when the Boy Scouts allowed for adult males who were homosexual to be into the Scouts, and then, shocker, children started getting molested in record numbers, and now the Boy Scouts of America, the Boy Scouts of America is gone, and they're going bankrupt. Like, you didn't see that coming, even though we all told you. But see, these are the same people that like to they can't think beyond 2 inches in front of their face. See, they hear me make that statement, they go, oh, so you're saying that all gays molest children, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. Do everyone a favor and sew your mouth shut, because you have no contribution to American society. You have no contribution to human society. That is not what I said. But I told everyone, as many people on my side did, that this was a logical possibility if ABC was allowed. Well, it happened. And instead of taking responsibility, what do these evil sycophants on the far left do? They double down on stupid. These are your Antifa. These are your thugs that like to hijack a movement like Black Lives Matter. These are your murdering criminals that are allowed to walk the streets in Oregon. in Chicago, in Washington, Seattle, Washington. These are the liberals that nobody likes anymore. These are the liberals that are so far to the left, they don't even deny that they want socialism and communism. But here's the beauty. Because they're such a small number, and because they have the brain capacity of an infant child, and they have the ability to comprehend and understand complex thoughts like an infant child, they're easily ignored. And they're easily noticed. They scream the loudest and accuse everybody of doing the very thing they do on the daily. You want proof? I'll give you a perfect example. All of these far left liberals that are championing Joe Biden and want Trump gone because they claim he's a racist, when they in fact prove they were racist. They didn't go to white communities and burn down their businesses. They didn't burn down the local Apple store. They didn't burn down the local Walmart that was owned by mommy and daddy. No. They burned down black communities. They burned down black businesses. They ruined black lives. In Washington, they straight up killed black lives. But see, anyone who's awake notices this. You have two types of Republicans, but they're not as dangerous. You have conservatives who tend to agree with libertarians to a degree. And then you have your rhinos. They claim they're Republican, but there's not a conservative bone in their body. They're neocons, and they're next to go. What you're going to witness this election is the death of the Democrat Party. And good riddance, due to what it's become. It breaks my heart. The party of John F. Kennedy. The party of Thomas Jefferson. What have you become? What have you become? The party of Lincoln is still fighting for black rights. The party of Lincoln, the Republican Party and Donald Trump, ended the crime bill that incarcerated black lives. The Republican Party improved the lives of African Americans in the workforce, sent construction projects into their cities to improve them. They didn't go anywhere. The party of Reagan, the party of limited government and let the people do what the people need to do to make America great, that's still there. It's a shame that the Democrat Party's become what it's become. And I have a lot of liberal friends that will agree with that statement. But unfortunately, you have evil in your party. Pure evil. Self-serving, self-righteous, moral superiority complex, and projectionists throughout. You all know who they are. You've seen them. Mentally ill and unstable human beings who think because they believe in their heart that they're an Apache attack helicopter, that you must refer to them by that proper pronoun. These people are mentally ill. They're sick. They need help. They're so into who they are and what they want that they will have no qualms murdering you for having a different opinion. That's the other part of the Democrat Party. That's the far left. That's what Americans finally saw in 2020. Now, this whole COVID-19, as I've said in previous shows, it's real. I'm not questioning the validity and the reality of the disease. What is fake, why I call it a plandemic, is I am more likely to be struck by lightning 14 times than dying from COVID with my health. I'm in my 40s. I'm healthy. I may get it, and like the flu, it's going to suck, and I'm going to be incapacitated for a while. Maybe lose my taste buds, but I'll be fine. I talked about this with a few people, and I'm going to touch on this. See, the CDC, and I have documentation that I'll be posting at the end of this video. You'll see it in the discussion part. I have an MSN article. I have a global research article stating what the CDC said, unequivocally stating only 6% have died from COVID-19. 94% of those that they claimed died from COVID-19 were a lie. But media is still spreading the fear porn. And it's not about cases, but death rate. But they don't want to talk about the death rate. Cases are fine. Who cares if cases go up? You know how many Americans get the flu every year? That's not a big deal. Are they dying from it? I got articles talks about that too. Two from the New York Post, Irish Times, and Slate. Hunter Biden and that scandal, the laptop from hell, which I think is going to contribute to this election. I think it already has. I've got two articles from the New York Post and one from the Washington Examiner. Not exactly conservative websites, ladies and gentlemen. Those are liberal newspapers who reported on it. One of the things that I got is from the Galler report, DEFCON News, and Hollywood News, talking about the pedophilia aspect of the Biden family. See, the one thing that I want to mention here really quick, since I talked about evil in the Democrat Party on the far left, and this is it. See, if you vote for Joe Biden, you're telling everybody straight up you're for pedophilia and you have no problem with it. Because of the amount of videos that are out there showing Joe Biden grabbing the breasts of a 12-year-old girl, a 13-year-old girl, grabbing the bosom of a 14-year-old girl, whispering in the ear, caught on a hot mic, hey, I'd like you to come back to my room, you're awfully pretty, to a 12-year-old girl. Not to mention the sniffing, the repeated sniffing. And you're going to vote for that? Because the media told you to? I refuse to acknowledge Americans are stupid. That's stupid. That's not even stupid. That's a level of ignorance that isn't even displayed in a 10-year-old. So it's got to be by choice. And if it's by choice, that tells me all I need to know about where you stand on pedophilia. Calling it like I see it. Agree or disagree. So we're going to talk about this. 2016, I was laughed at. I was called an idiot. I had people telling me how wrong I was from beginning to end of the election cycle. Once it was down to Trump and Hillary, I told everyone Trump was going to win. And I felt like Trump was going to get 324 electoral votes. And the way I did it was very simple. I did it with two factors. This time I'm doing it with 5. Maybe I overthought this one. Or maybe it's even more detailed. But I took 2 factors into consideration. Actually 3. The eye test. What did I see and hear talking to everyday Americans in the street? Because the media, number 2, I took what the media said and I did a little math equation. See, the media is the propaganda arm of the Democrat Party, a.k.a. what I like to call, to use their own words against them, state TV. See, they tell you what to think and how to think. And if you don't do those 2 things, they will drop the hammer on you. So I've known the media's been in the back pocket of the Democrat Party since I was 18 years old. So I took their poll numbers and I said, I'm going to subtract 5% of whatever they say. So if Hillary's winning by 4%, Trump is winning by 1. If Hillary's winning by 6%, then they're within the margin of error. Simple math equation. The other thing that I did is I took how Hillary Clinton voters went in a less crowded field than how President Donald Trump's voters in the primary went. And I compared the two primaries in each state, and I made a guess. I had 324, Trump won 306. Boom. This time, because of COVID and the pandemic, I'm looking at 5 factors. And I broke it down. Really, there's 7 factors. 2 of them I'll talk about at the end. The first factor is the female vote. Actually, the first factor is the primary vote count. The primary vote count mattered. And this time, instead of just doing Trump versus Biden, I took Trump's numbers in the primary versus all of the numbers in the Democrat primary. And consistently, Trump outperformed the Democrat Party by himself. Same equation, especially in Pennsylvania. So then I looked at the female vote. What's important to female voters? Now, a lot of people out there, they think females only vote on reproductive rights, as they like to call them. I call it murder. You can call it whatever you want. But women don't just focus on murder in their uterus. They focus on other things. They're an extremely smart group of people. In fact, we as men often say they're our better half because they are. And they're definitely the smarter of the two parties. Meaning husband, wife, male, female. So what's important to them? Safety, security. You're going to tell me that a suburban mom living in Minnesota, a suburban mom living in Washington State, is going to vote for the very party that promoted the riots, encouraged the riots, defunded the police, and destroyed their lives, their businesses, and their way of life. Boy, you are delusional if you believe that. I think the female vote is going to be overwhelmingly in Trump's favor. He may win 70% of the female vote. And I'm not joking. Wait for it. Because again, women aren't just going to vote on uterus. They're going to vote on, will my husband be able to survive his day at work? Is my community safe? Are my children safe? If the answer to that question is no, then they're going to vote for the party that's going to make that happen. And clearly, that's not the Democrat Party. Clearly. So, number 3, black approval rating. Ever since I was 17 years old and I first started listening to politics, this black approval rating conversation always came up. And I can't tell you, pollster after pollster, statistic after statistic, politician after politician, pundit after pundit, they always said the same thing. If the Republican candidate, if the Republican Party could just get 12 to 15% of the black vote, anywhere in that range, they would never lose an election. Okay? I see you. Trump got 10%. Surprised a lot of people. Missed that 12. Still lost the popular vote. So, I looked at his approval rating on October 30th. It was 31%. 31% approval rating. You know what that tells me? I don't think he's going to get 31% of the black vote to vote for him. But that tells me there's a Kanye West effect. There's an Ice Cube effect. There's a 50 Cent effect. So, I started thinking about it. I said, you know something? I'm going to cut 15% off. I think Trump's going to get 16% of the black vote. And that's accounted for in this map that you're about to see. 16% of the black vote. I'm not giving him the full 31. I remove 15% of it. You want to remove 16%, he's still at 15. He's still in that 12 to 15% range we talked about. And if you want to cut more than 16%, you're going to have to tell me why. Because you don't approve of somebody's job and then not vote for them 90% of the time. That doesn't happen. So, black approval rating, number 3. Number 4, male vote. Men across the spectrum. What do men care about? They care about a fair shake, taxes, liberty, being able to put food on the table for their family, and their finances, and corruption. Men, more than women, hate corruption. Can't stand it. Becomes a driving issue. Biden's are riddled with corruption. This whole email scandal thing isn't going away, this laptop, and the more information that's coming out. These businesses that close down, see, COVID opened the eyes of the male vote. It opened the eyes of the female vote. It opened the eyes of the black vote. See, Americans, for the first time in my lifetime, they started realizing, wait a minute. My governor's doing what? My mayor's doing what? And now I can't go to work because they won't let me? They hear the president saying, open up. Open up. Let these businesses go. Let these people get back to work. And our governors aren't letting us do it. Our mayors are preventing us from doing it. And let me tell you something. That doesn't go unnoticed by the male population, the female population, the black population, or any population. There's only one party preventing people from putting food on the table, and they're doing it with the lie of COVID. Because I'll tell you right now, there isn't a person on this planet who says, wait a minute, I can stay in my home and die of starvation and thirst because I can't pay my bills and get food on my table, or I can go to work and possibly die from COVID. You can't find a human being that isn't willing to die and risk getting the disease to make sure they can feed their family. Because there's a possibility they don't get it and live by going to work. There's no chance to survive if they can't go to work and pay their bills. I can't buy groceries and food at the store without money. And if I don't have a job, I don't have money. See how that works? I know it's a complicated process for the far left, the evil sycophants that we talked about. Math is hard. Facts are rough. Male vote gone. Gone for Biden. Now we're going to talk about the white youth male vote. You want to know what the Kavanaugh effect really is? Kavanaugh effect isn't women. Kavanaugh effect isn't Republicans coming out in mass to vote out the Democrats for how they treated Kavanaugh. No, the Kavanaugh effect is the white youth male. The 18 to 22-year-old kid. The one the hashtag #MeToo movement ruined their lives because they were wrongfully accused. See, in the last 4 years, what is the white male youth vote? The white male youth. The youth, you know what I'm trying to say. The young white male has had the following statements told to them. They're privileged. They're misogynistic. They're rapists. They're scumbags. They're everything that's wrong with society is their fault. And they should be ashamed of who they are. And they've been told this by liberal after 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 liberal. Because you know who's never said that to young white men? Conservatives. Ever! Now you think after getting browbeaten for 4 years, being told they're the problem, that they're going to turn around and vote for the Democrats? Put your cocaine down. It's detrimental to your health and to your mental capability because you're absolutely on coke. Too soon, the whole Joe Biden cocaine thing? I'll keep referencing that. Don't worry. They're gone. You take those 5 factors and you'll get what you're about to see. Now, youth vote in general. I'm going to touch on this. I want you to understand something. Young people, now granted, 16 and 17 can't vote, but 18 to 24 can. But the 16 to 24 demographic, the so highly courted by the left youth vote, tell you what the youth like to do. They like to rebel. They like to stand up against the norms. They like to push back against the man. Let me tell you the ugly truth that you on the left don't want to acknowledge. The establishment, the norm, the man is you, the liberal. Their teachers, their professors, their moms, their dads, they're all liberal. And the only way that they can be different from them is by being conservative. The pendulum has finally arrived to the other side. You enjoyed the 60s and the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. It started to turn in the 2000s, but then Bush complicated things because he was such an awful president and a sick bastard. 2010s, they got caught up in their celebrities. You did a good job of nailing the education system and getting them to buckle back to your will. But they're awake. I'm seeing it. I don't know how many kids, I'm in education, and I don't know how many kids have come up to me and they don't know if I'm conservative or if I'm Democrat, if I'm liberal. But let me put it this way. They don't know if I'm conservative, but they know one thing. I'll say that. They don't know if I'm conservative or liberal, but they know I'm not like their other liberal teachers, and they love it. Some of my good buddies in education that are conservative, they're all the favorite teacher on campus because they are different. They rebel against the school and the establishment thought, and they love it. And I'm seeing it more and more in the youth vote. Think about it, you guys out there that are my age. I'm in my 40s. How many of you can remember a Republican group on campus? I know I don't. ASU, that was a 4-letter word. They're popping up. The last factor that no one's really taken into consideration, guys, is crowd size. This was true for Obama. This was true for Reagan. This was true for Trump in 2016. The crowd sizes are not even close to being comparable. They're not even close to being comparable. You got 57,000 people in Butler, PA, in, around, and about the rally. And you got Biden pulling in at the most 331. Biden's bus got escorted out of Texas. 96-mile car parade in Arizona. 50-mile car parade in LA and Hollywood, California. It's not even close. Crowd size matters. So, with that taken into consideration, let's take a look at the map. Hawaii. I'm going to start with Hawaii. Hawaii is a very possible blue, so this could very well be 51. Okay? I just think that there's enough people in the Asian community that are afraid of what the left will do if they get in power, that they may just turn around and surprise everyone and vote. And I don't think that those votes are going to get messed with. I don't think they were prepared to mess with those votes. I think Hawaii and Alaska are going to go red. I'm not going to focus on every single state, but I am going to focus on the left coast for a minute. Washington State and Oregon, I'm up in the air on. There's a lot of soy boys and feminazis and Antifa and Black Lives Matters. Hub is in those states, so there's a good possibility that those states also don't go for Trump. But here's why I'm giving them the Trump. All of those reasons I talked about, all of those suburban white women, the black vote, the Latino vote, the youth vote, the enthusiasm, not to mention by the time it gets to their election, I think there's going to be a lot of Democrats that just don't show up because it's already over. It's going to be over early, and they're going to be like, frig it, I'm not voting, there's no point. Now, California, New York, and New Jersey, I have been saying is going to go for President Trump since October of 2018. And I'll tell you why. The boots on the ground tells a very real story. In California, they had to rig the election to win it. Don't believe me. Read what happened in California in 2018. Republicans had the lead by double digits in most counties. And when they woke up, they magically lost. Where did all those votes come from? You can put lipstick on that pig all you want, but it don't add up. But here's why I'm going with California. In October of 2017, a Republican won a seat in San Diego that hasn't been won by a Republican since 1976. That was good enough for me to go, the tide is starting to turn. Then you see all of the Trump parade in Hollywood and you know Orange County, LA, and then you've got what Gavin Newsom and Nancy Pelosi have done to those cities and that state. There is no way you are going to convince me that California is turning blue in this election. It's going to vote Republican for the first time since 1988. Watch. New York, same thing. What Wilhelm, because I refuse to call him de Blasio, I'm Italian. You don't get to take an Italian name just because, you think it's going to get you elected. It's disgusting. So Wilhelm, which is his actual name, has run that city into the ground. And Cuomo's an Alfredo. He's an absolute piece of garbage. He's a murderer, and he needs to be in jail for what he did with those nursing home patients during this whole pandemic. He is an absolute psychopath. When somebody kills 60,000 people, they're not a murderer. They're a serial killer. Pennsylvania, forget it. Forget it if you're Biden. You are kidding yourself if you think Joe Biden's winning Pennsylvania. Sorry, you're just not. New Jersey, they already had a Republican governor, or not governor, but congressman flip. And trust me, his popularity went up after he made that decision. I got family in New Jersey. You're in for a surprise tomorrow night or tonight. Florida, gone, forget it. Virginia, ain't no way they're voting Democrat after the shit they've pulled. Between the Second Amendment bullshit, the post-birth abortion bullshit, you think that they're going to vote Democrat? You are, and they want to end the energy industry. Yeah, you need to put the cocaine down if you think Virginia's going for Biden. Ohio, the Rust Belt entirely. Look, I got Illinois blue because Illinois has been rigging elections since 1880. They've got it down to a pattern. So I'm not convinced anyone can crack that code yet. I think it's getting weaker. I think it's a lighter blue than the Democrats want to admit. But I think it's solidly Democrat. Massachusetts, I just have no faith in Massachusetts. I just don't. I wouldn't have had faith in Maine either, my home state where I was born, if it wasn't for what President Trump did with the fishing industry and the lobster industry in particular. That is going to absolutely galvanize the Maine vote behind him. And again, Maine's 4 electoral votes. They're not in it to rig that one. They could lose Maine. They don't care about Maine when it comes to an electoral map. And again, with what Trump has done for the fishing industry in Maine, I am telling you they are voting Republican in this election. Massachusetts? Maybe not. I don't think they are, but I could be wrong. Vermont? That's Bernie country. They'll do whatever Bernie tells them to do. So I'm not real convinced he'll win Vermont. Maryland? Maryland's too close to D.C., and there's a lot of sleeping sheep out there. So that's all I got Biden winning. Now, I will tell you this right now. This map could look different, right? I could put another map up and show you different things. Here's what I'm predicting. A high water mark for Joe Biden is 101 electoral votes, period. That's about as much as he's going to get. He ain't going to get any more than the low 100s. He just isn't. But he could get as little as 21 electoral votes. He really could. And it'll be fascinating to see how that plays out. Now, here's the good news for you libertards out there. One of two things is going to happen when tomorrow is over. The Democrats have successfully rigged the election, and you're going to come on here and go, oh, see, you were wrong, you're an idiot, no. You're going to have your laugh. I'll go viral at your expense, or maybe I won't go viral at all. Maybe I'll just be something to laugh at before you go to bed as you celebrate the end of our republic, because we don't have a democracy. We've never had a democracy. Benjamin Franklin made it a point that we never mentioned the word democracy anywhere in the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence. We are a republic for as long as we shall keep it. But you could celebrate the end of our republic and our march into socialism. But I'm going to tell you something. That ain't going to end the way you think it is. And what I mean by that is you got a lot of people that aren't going to sit by and let that outcome unfold over a 4-year period. Just so you know. Just a hunch. The other scenario is Trump doesn't quite get 491. Maybe he gets 362. Maybe, he doesn't win New York, or maybe he doesn't win New Jersey, or maybe he doesn't win California. And you're like, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. You're stupid. In which case you miss the forest through the trees, because Trump is still president in a blowout. I just think what really is going to aid the California turn is if you look at this map, the election's over early. Whether they're calling these states or not, it's over. And the people in California will know it. It's a lot of flyover country that just turned red. Ruby red. Texas will be called within 5 minutes of the polls closing. Arizona will be called within a half an hour of the polls closing. If you on the left really think that those states are potential flips for you, again, put the cocaine away for about 10 minutes and let's have a conversation. Outside of the conversation, I'll say two things. I don't think it's going to be close. Like I said earlier in the video, whether he hits 491 or he hits 362 or 356, it's a blowout. By the definitional standards, it's a blowout. And yes, this I will guarantee, President Donald Trump will win the popular vote. That much I'm certain. How much? We'll have to wait and see. But Donald Trump will win the popular vote, and he will win the electoral vote, and he will be having a second term as president of the United States. So, another time, I'll get into what we can expect in a second term with President Trump, but we'll have to wait. As usual, all of this is null and void if you don't go out and vote. So if you haven't already, I already did, vote tomorrow or today, I guess, when this gets posted. Vote. Let them hear your voice, loud and clear. Put the final nail in the Democrat Party's coffin, so we may turn our attention to the Republican Party for the next 4 years. Because I believe they're going to get a nail in their coffin too. That party is about to go bye-bye in the next term. Because I think the party system is done. It ain't going to be around much longer. I'll certainly see the death of it in my lifetime. But right now, the lesser of the two is really simple. You've got one right now that's evil. You've got another one that's incompetent. I'd rather have incompetence with a competent president versus evil with incompetent president. And I'm not even talking about Biden, because Biden won't be president. It'll be Kamala Harris. And that woman, I have seen dead jellyfish with bigger brain capacity and mental comprehension skills than that woman has ever demonstrated in her entire existence. Period. But that will be your president. So you'll have evil with incompetence versus incompetence with competence. Because again, the Republican Party is incompetent. But President Trump has proven to be a competent president. But the left, they don't have a competent person running for office. And they're evil. Vote. None of these predictions matter. Mine, anybody else. I'm just reading the tea leaves. Female vote, primary vote count, black approval rating, male vote, white youth male vote. And then again, if you want me to throw those other two in there, youth vote in general and crowd size. That's why I came up with a 491 to, what was it? I think it was 47. Let me take a look at my map really quick. Yeah, 491 to 47 total. Again, his high water mark could be 101. I could see him getting as much as, low 100s, 101, 103, 105. But don't bank on it. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. I'm Anthony. This is Flyover Country. God bless and stay safe.